Well, if you talk to any leader, education has always been a very significant part in what is the future of the country, right? Where it is a big element in determining whether or not a country really has the human resources and the skilled labor that will help for foreign investors to come in. Well, today we will take a look at the budget that has been allocated increasingly over the years to the education ministry and whether it's really going to work for the country. Earlier, I spoke this morning to Dr. Phumsaran Thongliamnak, the researcher of TDRI. Here's what he had to say.
The budget has been increased every year. I mean, in the last 10 years, it's been increased around 80%. But the achievement of students, the international test result, has not been improved accordingly. So we need to improve how to allocate the education budget as well. We cannot just do it as business as usual. Right now, we do not have the thing that called accountability in education system. The teacher salary has been increased. The school budget has been increased, but there's no accountability. I mean, for the student test score, the student achievement, it does not correlate with the increase in terms of the budget. I mean, the teacher can still get rest in terms of their income or in terms of their promotion, even though the student cannot read or write. So we need to fix that. We need to tie the achievement of students to the evaluation of school and teacher and maybe principal too. Around 85% of budget go to teacher salary and fixed cost in school like infrastructure, and only about 14% or 14 or 15% go directly to students. And in that 14 or 15%, only 5% or less go to the learning in classroom. I mean, so even though we receive a lot of increase in terms of education budget, but the majority of them do not go to the student learning directly. We actually, our research, we propose something called the funding formula. That in our research, we propose that every school or every education district will receive the different amount of budget according to the situation of the school or the district area. Under the last minister, they have a big curriculum reform committee. Yeah, but I'm not sure about the new one. I think it seems like they are more focused on the history class or civic education, and they haven't talked much about math, science, or others. Yeah.
And that was Dr. Phumsaran Thongliamnak, the researcher of TDRI, there saying that, yes, it is a very big concern because there has been increasingly more money being flowed into the Ministry of Education. And he just mentioned there that it's still not clear, like a lot of things with the junta government in place, as to what will be done with the money. And that is exactly really, I think, what everyone is asking, whether you're from the investor side or from the education side or the government side. People still don't understand what is going to happen. But let's talk about the perspective of the Thai education system from a investor's perspective here from overseas. And we have online with us here Mark Spiegel, the president of the Thai-Finnish Chamber of Commerce. Sawasdee ka.
Sawasdee ka.
Kun Mark, according to the TDRI research, average hours of secondary school in developed countries are 907 hours. Now, Thai students have been recorded to spend 1,200 hours a year in a classroom, while I believe in your country, in Finland, students spend about 856 hours. But the performance in mathematics or science is better in assessment. Why do you think this is so?
Well, I think a lot of that comes down to the way that the students are taught. We know that here in Thailand, historically, the method that's been used is rote learning. And unfortunately, this doesn't give students the ability to develop creative thinking or critical minds. And this is exactly now what has been taking place in Finland over the last 2 decades. And when you go into the actual classroom itself, you start to see that the teachers are only speaking about 40% of the time, and the students actually are actively participating 60% of the time, forcing them to engage and forcing them to develop their own ideas and theories around the subject matter that's being taught. The other thing is that the teachers are absolute subject matter experts on the topics that they are teaching. And I can tell you that to become a teacher in Finland is more difficult than to become a CEO of a multinational corporation.
It's more difficult than being a CEO.
Yes, it's one of the hardest professions in Finland to get into. They're not paid very well, so it's not an issue of pay. It's an issue of credibility and respect and what they can give back to the country.
Yeah, I think it's also similar here in Thailand, but there was a lot of talk saying that the average salary of teachers are getting better. There are more incentives, but the curriculum itself has always been a challenge with the debate of whether we should stick with the Thai roots of, as you just mentioned there, being very centralized with listening, or should there be a Western kind of thinking, which has been criticized at some points. What do you have to say about this?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of Eastern versus Western. It's a matter of what method works best in order to enable students to learn and have the skill sets they need in order to enter the business world when they finish their education. And in this, Finland has clearly demonstrated year and year again why they're the top in the world in terms of education.
What is your experience then in the work field when dealing with the human resources here in the country? What kind of challenges have you seen?
I mean, obviously, again, you do have challenges in that because of the rote learning that it's difficult to get people to work independently on tests. They do well in team environment, but on individual tests it becomes an issue. Obviously, we know that English language continues to be an issue as Thailand is ranked the lowest in ASEAN. So these are really the 2 major areas that need to be tackled. And I can tell you from a positive point of view, the Thai-Finnish Chamber of Commerce, along with the Finnish Embassy, we've signed an MOU with BMA to work with them and all 440 schools to start teaching the teachers how to teach in order to develop critical thinking for the students.
And how has that been so far?
Well, we've only just started in the last several months, and we're having our initial pilot programs in place now just recently. So I'd say, it'll take some time to show up. But we're very excited about the prospect, and we're excited by the commitment and cooperation from BMA to work with us on this because they've seen how successful Finland has been, and they really want to leverage that expertise in order to improve things here in Thailand.
And lastly, I don't want to get into politics. It's a very sensitive issue, but we have to mention the fact that there has already been talks about increasing funding for the education ministry by the military government, but they haven't really been clear. We've only seen a lot of emphasis, a lot of focus on subjects about history, about being very nationalistic and patriotic. What do you feel about the latest proposals?
Well, again, I mean, it's just a proposal. We need to see really what they're going to come out with in terms of substantive objectives. But, I mean, personally, from what we've seen so far, it's not really about how much money you throw at the issue. It's about making sure that we have the right foundation and the right pillars for the institution itself. And again, on the surface, I don't necessarily believe that increasing spending would necessarily fix the issue. We know now what the issues are in terms of educational development for the students and also in terms of language ability. And I believe if we focus on, again, teaching the teachers how to teach in a way that the students develop critical and creative thinking, and we greatly increase the knowledge on English speaking, I think that in and of itself will greatly enhance Thailand's attractiveness and also the ability for the Thai students to perform better in the workforce, not just in Thailand, but then to give them access to the rest of ASEAN and the rest of the world.
Now, talking about that, 2015 is coming soon. We have the AEC, the ASEAN Economic Community. How does Thailand compare to the neighboring ASEAN countries?
Well, as I said earlier, I mean, in terms of English language, Thailand is at the bottom, so not very well, obviously. And in terms of other areas, they're still not ranked very high. So, again, they're going to have challenges, and especially when it comes to English language, it affords the other countries much more access to mobility in the workforce.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mark, for being with us here on the
My
program.
pleasure.
ขอบคุณค่ะ สวัสดีค่ะ
ขอบคุณครับ
That is Mark Spiegel, the president of the Thai-Finnish Chamber of Commerce, giving his statements that yes, money is needed, but the foundations of the curriculum, the method of teaching is very important. And it's very interesting how he said that they've recently tried to train teachers here at the Bangkok city with big schools, but we will have to see how overall the situation will be for the country, because earlier I had spoken to Dr. Phumsaran. He had said that there is really inequality, if you look at it, between various provinces that are developed, such as in Bangkok, and those that are not so developed, such as in the southern part of Thailand or the northeastern part of Thailand, because the funding only is based on how many students there are in a school. So if, let's say, you have a school that has more students, you'll get more funding. But for those with less students, it's most likely that you're not going to get that funding into that school. So overall, very big challenge. We'll have to see how the situation will continue on. As I always say, if you want to give your comments or opinions, you can say them on Twitter. Find me at @chalo_now26. Anyways, that's it for me today. Up next is the Thai news.